Imagine fighting a war that, unbeknownst to you, had already ended. Sounds impossible, right? Let that thought sink in for a moment. Picture the isolation, the constant vigilance, the relentless fear, all while the world around you has moved on. It's an absurd notion. A concept that seems ripped from the pages of a dystopian novel. Yet it's more than just a flight of fancy. Well, brace yourselves, because this is the true story of a soldier who lived this exact scenario. Hiroo Onoda, a young intelligence officer from Japan, was sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines in December 1944. His mission was clear: disrupt and sabotage enemy efforts at all costs. Trained meticulously in guerrilla warfare at the Nakano School, Onoda was more than ready. This academy, known for its rigorous and intense training, had prepared Onoda to endure the toughest of conditions. He was taught to survive on his own, to become a ghost on the battlefield, unseen and undetected. But what was more significant than his physical training was the mindset he was imbued with. Onoda was a soldier of the Imperial Japanese Army, a force that held honor and duty above all else. His orders were absolute: never surrender, never take your own life. This was more than just a command, it was a creed, a principle that guided his every action. The concept of surrender was alien to him, an unthinkable act of cowardice and dishonor. His orders were to fight until the very end, and that's exactly what he intended to do. Onoda, with his unwavering dedication and resolute spirit, set out for his mission on Lubang Island. He was prepared for the hardships, the battles, the sacrifices. He was ready to give it his all, ready to fight till the last man standing. Onoda, determined and unwavering, prepared himself for a long battle. Little did he know just how long it would be. Fast forward to September 2nd, 1945. World War II officially ends, but not for Onoda. In the dense jungles of Lubang Island in the Philippines, Hiroo Onoda and his men stumbled upon leaflets scattered across the ground. These pieces of paper bore a message that seemed too good to be true. The war was over. The world had breathed a collective sigh of relief. The guns had fallen silent, and peace was restored. But Onoda, a diligent soldier trained in the art of guerrilla warfare, was not convinced. To him, these leaflets were nothing more than enemy propaganda, a crafty trick designed to lure him and his men out of their hideouts. He refused to accept that Japan had surrendered, that the cause he had been fighting for, had been living for, was no longer at war. It's easy to imagine the inner turmoil Onoda must have faced. He was torn between the hope of returning to a peaceful life in Japan and the duty he felt towards his country. But his military training won over. He chose to believe that Japan was still at war, and so he continued to fight. Onoda and his men carried on with their mission of survival and resistance in the dense jungle. They lived off the land, foraging for food, evading local patrols, and occasionally engaging in skirmishes. Their existence was a constant dance with danger, a test of endurance and resilience. Years turned into decades as they remained trapped in a time that the rest of the world had moved on from. It's a tale that almost defies belief. A single man, holding on to a reality that had ceased to exist, waging a personal war against an enemy that had long since laid down their arms. Yet, that was the reality for Onoda. Onoda, trapped in his own timeline, continued to wage a war that was over. For years, Onoda survived in the dense jungle, living a life of isolation and constant vigilance. Picture this: a man, alone in the wilderness, equipped with nothing but his survival skills and an unwavering sense of duty. That was Hiroo Onoda, a Japanese soldier who lived in isolation for nearly 3 decades, long after World War II had ended. Onoda's existence in the jungle was a testament to his resilience and resourcefulness. With no contact with the outside world, he relied solely on his survival training. He hunted his own food, foraged for fruits and berries, and used plants to treat his ailments. He patched his uniform with cloth scraps he found, and even used bamboo to fix his broken glasses. His life was a constant battle against the elements, against hunger, against loneliness. And there were those who tried to bring him back. Leaflets were dropped from the sky telling him the war was over, but Onoda dismissed these as enemy propaganda. He was convinced that his country was still at war and he had a duty to fulfill. Even the loss of his comrades didn't deter him. He buried them with honor, saluted their graves, and carried on his mission alone. His life was a stark contrast to the world outside. While humanity landed on the moon, Onoda was still fighting a war that had ended years ago. While the world saw the rise of computers and the internet, Onoda was living off the land, his only companions the animals of the jungle. While the world moved forward, Onoda was stuck in a past that no longer existed. But why? Why did he stay? The answer lies in his unwavering loyalty. Onoda was a soldier, and he had a mission to complete. He was not going to abandon his post, not until he received direct orders from his superior. The world moved on, but Onoda, the loyal soldier, remained stuck in a time that no longer existed. His story is a stark reminder of the devastating effects of war, the power of belief, and the resilience of the human spirit. It was not until 1974, almost 30 years after the war's end, that Onoda's personal battle finally came to a close. Onoda's war didn't end with a grand battle, a surrender, or a peace treaty. It was a Japanese explorer, Norio Suzuki, who brought the soldiers' war to an end. Suzuki, a man with a penchant for adventure, had embarked on a seemingly impossible mission to find Hiroo Onoda, the panda of the Shizang Mountains, and the Yeti. The first name on his list, Onoda, was the one he found. On a small island in the Philippines, Suzuki met Onoda and tried to convince him that the war was over. Onoda, however, was reluctant. He'd been living in the jungle, fighting a war for so long, the idea of peace was alien to him. He insisted he would only surrender if his former commander ordered him to do so. Suzuki returned to Japan and tracked down Onoda's former commander, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi. Taniguchi, who had since become a bookseller, was flabbergasted. He agreed to travel to the Philippines to personally deliver the order to stand down. It was a surreal moment when Taniguchi, standing in the Philippine jungle in his business suit, officially relieved Onoda of his duty. Onoda's return to Japan was met with an outpouring of admiration and disbelief. The man who had fought World War II for nearly 3 decades was a living testament to the power of belief and the human spirit. He was a hero to some, a curiosity to others, but to all, he was a symbol of a time long past. Onoda's story is not just about a soldier who couldn't let go of his war. It's about a man who held so tightly to his convictions that he was willing to live in isolation, away from the evolving world. His tale teaches us about dedication, loyalty, and the power of the human spirit when faced with unimaginable circumstances. Onoda's war finally ended, not with a battle, but with a simple, undeniable truth. Onoda's story is more than just a tale of survival and misplaced loyalty. It's a testament to the power of belief and the human spirit. Hiroo Onoda's story is a compelling narrative that has resonated far beyond his native Japan. It's a chronicle that highlights the profound psychological impact of war, the power of indoctrination, and the incredible human capacity for endurance. His unwavering belief in his cause, though misplaced, is a stark reminder of how deeply ingrained wartime ideologies can become. Post-war Japan, in its struggle to reconcile with its militaristic past, found in Onoda a symbol of the nation's collective memory and the lingering ghosts of World War II. His return to Japan in the 70s, not as a soldier but as a man out of time, was a poignant moment that underscored the country's journey from the ashes of war to a peaceful, prosperous society. Internationally, Onoda's story stirred a mix of awe, sympathy, and intrigue. It prompted a global conversation about the lasting effects of war, not just on societies and nations, but on the individual psyche. It forced us to confront uncomfortable questions about the morality of war, the nature of loyalty, and the limits of human endurance. On the personal level, Onoda's tale underscores the power of belief. His steadfast commitment to his duty, sustained over 3 decades of isolation, is a testament to the extraordinary lengths a person can go when driven by conviction. It highlights the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity to survive against overwhelming odds. Yet, it also serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us of the dangers of blind loyalty and the potential consequences of living in a reality shaped by misinformation and false beliefs. It underscores the importance of critical thinking and the need for accurate information in shaping our perceptions and actions. Onoda's story reminds us of the often blurred line between reality and perception, and the extraordinary lengths a human can go when driven by duty and conviction.